good news for local toy makers and clothing artists. The federal government has now changed its new lead testing policy.
The policy had threatened to stifle entrepreneurs and children's retail stores. KVAL's Laura Rios has been following the story all week as it develops. She joins us now with this consumer alert.
Well, Dave and Jen, the Consumer Product Safety Commission has tentatively approved some exemptions to the law. Right now, those folks are just sifting through the legislation. This is the bill. It's 62 pages long. This is just the first 20 pages, and it's very confusing to these retailers. Congressman Peter DeFazio spoke with the CPSC today. He says they told him secondhand stores should not be included in the law.
Not, according to subcommittee staff and CPSC staff, you would not have any liability unless you knew that it was contaminated and you still sold it. And they would not require testing, which are the two major concerns.
I'm Laura Rios, KVAL News.
Now, DeFazio told KVAL News the CPSC plans to issue a statement tomorrow clarifying the law, and we'll follow up with that.
The agency hadn't been reauthorized since the early 1980s. So what this legislation, what this law actually does is give the agency updated authorities. It addresses today's marketplace and how the agency should regulate consumer products being sold and distributed today.
Okay. What does that say? It's not specific to lead and it's not specific to children?
The Consumer Product Safety Improvement Act is a very big, sweeping piece of legislation that addresses many different issues. The agency's authorities and how we regulate, and what products and how they should be regulated.
Okay.
So under the CPSIA, there are very specific and new definitions on regulating products with lead, children's products, but also all the other consumer products that the agency has authority over.
Okay. I think what we're hearing from a lot of people who are parents who shop at consignment stores, people who run these consumer stores, what is the message to people who are selling things intended for children after February 10th? What does the law say you've got to do?
When it comes to resellers, there is not a requirement for them to test. There is a lot of misinformation being floated out by the media, by the mommy blogs, by others blogging on legislation that they're just not understanding. And it needs to be clear and it needs to be concise in terms of their requirements under the law.
Okay, so I run a consignment shop, or I'm the Salvation Army, I'm the Goodwill, I'm selling secondhand things that are obviously intended for kids, from things that are clothing to shoes to toys. What do I need to do to make sure that these items intended for children meet your standards?
What second-hand shops need to do and understand in terms of their responsibility is they do need to meet the law. The law does apply to them. How they meet that law is not defined in the legislation. Resellers of children's products need to have a certain level of confidence that their products meet the law. If they have a level of confidence that those things that they are selling is not in violation of the new lead limits, then they by all means can continue to sell those products. The intention of the CPSC and the intention of this law is not to say that consignment shop and thrift store owners need to close their doors on February 10th.
Okay, but when you say they need to be comfortable with what they're selling, should they be testing everything in their stores? I mean, is there a lead level limit that they have to meet, as well as like the retailers?
There is a lead level limit of 600 parts per million total lead that needs to be met. How a shop owner comes to their level of confidence is not defined in the legislation. They simply need to make a business decision at a level of confidence that the products that they are selling meets the law. There is any number of ways a consignment shop owner may be able to meet that level of confidence. It's not defined in the legislation, but there are a number of ways that they could do it.
What would you suggest?
They can look at it and make an informed decision on whether or not that product meets the law. They could call the manufacturer of that product and ask them whether or not there is any lead used in the manufacturing of the product. There are a variety of different ways, but what consignment shop and thrift store owners should do is use their best judgment on how they reach that level of confidence that they're meeting the law.
Okay, so even those little lead tests where you can just do the little quick tests, that could work for them.
The CPSC does not believe that lead test kits are accurate. They were designed to test lead paint, lead house paint, and even then the testing, final testing are really pretty questionable.